Hey guys, you're watching Money Moves with Nick, and I'm going to talk to you about how caffeine is quietly destroying your finances. Now, number one, everybody knows that when you spend $5 on a coffee 5 days a week, over time, the math adds up to about $1,300 a year that you're spending on that. And if you were to buy energy drinks, maybe a $2 to $3 one, you're looking at about $700 a year. Now, I hear a lot of people say, well, that's only $1,300. That's only $700. That's not necessarily that much money. And the amount of time that I can spend working offsets that. And I hear that. That totally makes sense to me. I understand that by buying caffeine, you can easily work, that would be just a couple weeks of overtime that would be able to pay for that habit. So I totally hear that and I totally understand that. But I just wanted to talk about the math here. And for somebody who maybe doesn't have that much flexibility in their income, some of the ways that this could actually turn into something negative. So I just want to use the example of $1,300. If I buy $1,300 worth of coffee, okay, instead of saving that amount, I could have saved $5 a day in a savings account. Now, let's just say I am living paycheck to paycheck. Now I have a $1,300 car repair. I just want you to think a little bit outside of the box here. If you have plenty of money, maybe this video is not necessarily for you, but I wanted to just give some perspective on, for somebody who is kind of living paycheck to paycheck, how caffeine is really going to keep them broke. And $1,300 now for a car repair that I could have saved by not drinking coffee, now I have to put that on a credit card. All right, so now let's imagine the credit card. Generally, we're talking about, let's just say 24%. I know there's people that have obviously lower credit cards and higher, but let's just say 24% is the math that I used here. And that's going to cost you about $1,600 total with interest for the year, doing the credit card option. Okay, so let's think about that. Now that $1,300 now turned into $1,600, and a lot of our financial successes and failures happen because of little things that compound and compound and compound and compound and compound. Okay, so from that financial standpoint, now that $1,600 that I did not save, and now I had that, now I have that expense, I'm out $1,600 and I still have no money saved. So the next time a car repair or something happens, now I'm gonna have to do the same thing because I didn't save and I'm not in a habit of saving. So now next time I have a $1,300 repair. That's another $1,600, that's another $300 in interest added on that. So if you understand how that adds and adds and adds over time after time after time over a long period of time, that's really going to cause a lot of financial stress and issues. Also, I know we're kind of talking about how this money could be used to pay off a large expense, but let's just say we could have invested that money. That investment could have made, 8 to 10%, even more per year, depending on what you're investing in. Over, 10-year time, that's about $19,000 that I could have invested. And I spent about $13,000 in coffee expenses on that. So if you really think about, okay, I'm negative $13,000 versus being positive $19,000, that's a $32,000 difference in my financial future. So I'm negative 13,000 versus positive 19,000 if I would have invested that. So that's a $30,000 over a 10-year period of time. That coffee with the opportunity cost factored is going to cost me over $30,000 that I do not have. That's a new car. That's a down payment on a house over a 10-year period of time. So just want to think about the math, as far as the math goes, the math makes sense. All right. I understand that some people need caffeine. Some people like it. I enjoy it. It's something I'm really working on not having. But the math, it's going to cost you a lot of money here. $30,000 over a 10-year period of time if you were to invest that money instead of spending it on coffee. All right. Now, the second thing here is that dependency fuels impulse spending. Okay, so not only am I spending the money on the coffee, what happens is people are emotional creatures and people are going to make emotional-based decisions. People are going to buy things impulsively. When you have a lot of stimulation, fight or flight mode, it's so much easier to just buy convenience things and to be swayed emotionally. I'm already high on dopamine. Let me get higher by buying this new t-shirt. Does that make sense? So it's not even mathematically what we're speaking about here. It's the emotional aspect that's causing me to be more susceptible to impulse spending. Now I'm groggy. Now I need to buy more food and sweet treats. Now I'm increasing my dopamine tolerance, and being productive has a higher barrier of entry to get in because my dopamine level is so high, and I need to now you know what? Let me get nicotine. Now let's add porn on that. And now we have all of these additional dopamine hits and highs that were kind of climbing up a dopamine ladder here. And money is now coming out of our bank account because we started with caffeine. Now we need to buy all this other things. And we're not even thinking that the caffeine caused it in the first place because it put us into an emotional state that made us more susceptible to doing these things. I don't have the math figures on this, but you can think about this. Just think about, let's just say, $10 a week. That's $520 a year. Now I added on that. It's probably more like $10 a day if I were to buy, start buying, now I need a box of donuts. Now I need this and that. That could then easily add up to thousands and thousands and thousands. Now that gap of spent to invested went from 30,000 to 40 to 50,000 over a 10-year period of time because of all that stuff I bought that I didn't actually need. I just bought to give me dopamine, and I just let the money fly out of my account. DoorDash snacks, quick solutions. Man, I'm just feeling like crap, I'll just order DoorDash. I just really not motivated to go anywhere. Okay, so now we're adding all those costs, and that spend to invest differential is getting higher and higher and higher and higher and higher. All right, so dependency fuels impulse spending. I know about this because I've lived it, and I've experienced this. This is something that I've really thought about. Like when you're like stimulated all the time, it's so much easier to make a bad decision. And then the third thing I wanted to talk to you guys about was it wrecks your sleep and increases anxiety. Okay. So what happens is, on top of the money I already spent, now the impulse spending, now my sleep cycle is messed up and my mental health is not where it needs to be. Now I may need to pay for a psychologist or a psychiatrist to talk to me about my problems now more money is coming out of my bank account because I increase my anxiety I messed with my hormones. I ruined my sleep schedule. Now my body is responding negatively and I have all these other compounding problems. And now what this is really just doing is it's just taking up emotional capital. It's taking up emotional capital that I could be using to build success into my life, come up with new ideas. So every moment that I spend worrying about my anxiety and trying to fix my anxiety and worrying about how tired I am and worrying about, oh man, I feel depressed, I'm high and now I'm low. All of that is time that I am not spending doing something productive. All of that is time that I am spending not doing something productive. What's happening with that is maybe now I have more sick days. Now I just have the opportunity cost. I'm not going to do all the math here, but can you just understand and see what's happening here? I'm losing out on opportunities to make more money. I'm losing out on opportunities to come up with good ideas. I'm losing out on opportunities to level up in my life because I'm not reaching a new level psychologically, so I can't handle a new level of job. Now I lost income and I spent income while losing the opportunity to make more income. So my bank account's going down and the opportunity over that time to make more income. Now that differential over 20 years is 6 figures. And you just say it's just $5 a day, but it's 6 figures over 20 years. Loss of investment opportunity plus the amount that you paid, plus the debt, the interest that you paid. And think about all the days that you called in, could have potentially called in sick and maybe had to take a leave of absence for your mental health and things like that. So I just want to encourage you guys to think about what caffeine can possibly do. People say, wow, it makes me so productive. It makes me so productive. I can work so much more. I have so much more energy. Well, there's so many hidden costs of this that I really don't think that it's worth it over the long-term period of time. And you guys can make your own decision on that. I'm not going to stop you from having caffeine. I have no desire to do that, but I want you to know that if you are serious about wealth, caffeine is something that really can mess you up. So my channel here, Money Moves with Knowledgeable Nick, the point is to help you make more money and to keep it. I talk about some of the things that I've learned myself. I talk about some of the things that I have personally done, both good and bad. So my perspective can help you make different financial decisions and lead to a better financial future for you and your family. Have a wonderful day, guys. Hit that subscribe button, hit that like button.